What if the person you ignored today was worth more than everyone who ever ignored you combined? What if kindness wasn't just the right thing to do, but the only thing separating you from missing the most important person you'd ever meet? This is the story of a woman who had everything, a man who had nothing to prove, and the moment that changed both their lives forever. Once upon a time, in a city where the streets never slept and dreams wore designer shoes, a woman decided to disappear. Not because she was poor, not because she was lost, but because she was tired of being seen. Her name was Zara Cole, Nigerian-born, US-raised tech billionaire. Forbes lists, business awards, private jets, the kind of woman people smiled at before she even spoke. But every smile felt rented. Every compliment had a price tag. And when she built a $120 million luxury hotel in Lagos, the Atlantic Crest, she made a decision that shocked even her board of directors. She would work there, not as the owner, as a cleaner. The opening week was chaos. Influencers posing, politicians bragging, foreign investors touring. And in the middle of it all, Zara wore a faded uniform, rubber gloves, and a name tag that said Lena, housekeeping. No makeup, no security, no recognition, just reality. People didn't hold doors anymore. Guests snapped fingers at her. Managers barely looked at her face. For the first time in years, people showed her who they truly were. And what she saw shook her. A general manager who smiled at investors but barked orders at staff. Guests who tossed towels on the floor while she stood right there. Colleagues who whispered about her accent, her tired eyes, her worn shoes. She took notes mentally, not for revenge, but for truth. Because Zara had spent a decade building companies, closing deals, shaking hands with presidents, and she realized something terrifying. She had no idea who actually respected her and who just respected her bank account. Then she met Ethan, not a guest, not a big executive. He was the hotel's night shift electrician, quiet, focused, grease on his hands, honesty in his eyes. The first night they crossed paths, her part wheel jammed. People walked past. He didn't. "Hold on," he said, kneeling on the marble floor in his work clothes. "This thing's fighting you." 5 minutes later, he fixed it. No flirting, no show, just kindness. "There you go," he said, wiping his hands. "Should roll smooth now." She thanked him, caught off guard. He nodded and walked away. No lingering, no expectations, just a man who saw a problem and fixed it. And for reasons she couldn't explain, that small moment stayed with her all night. Weeks passed. Ethan greeted her every day, saved her a seat during staff lunch, walked her to the bus stop after late shifts. He never asked for her number, never tried to impress her. He just existed beside her, steady and kind, like sunlight that didn't demand to be noticed. One evening, while she wiped down mirrors in the executive lounge, he knocked lightly on the door. "You missed dinner," he said, holding out a wrapped sandwich. "Thought you might be hungry." She stared at it. When was the last time someone thought about whether she'd eaten? "I'm okay," she said softly. "I know," he smiled, "but you're also still here at 9 p.m. Just take it." She did, and when she unwrapped it later in the storage room, she cried. Because billionaires don't cry over sandwiches, but women who've been invisible for weeks do. One night, during heavy rain, a VIP guest slipped near the lobby entrance and blamed Zara. "She's useless! Fire her!" the woman shouted, diamonds glinting under the chandelier. "There was no wet floor sign, no nothing. I could have broken my neck." The lobby manager rushed over, apologetic, already looking at Zara with disappointment. Before he could speak, Ethan stepped forward. "That's not what happened. The floor sign was missing before she got here. I saw it myself. Someone moved it during the event setup." His supervisor shot him a warning look. Ethan didn't back down. "I'm not lying for anyone. That's the truth." The guest huffed and stormed off. The manager dismissed everyone with a tight smile. Zara stood there, heart pounding, a man risking his job for a cleaner. She wanted to thank him, but her throat was too tight. Later, when she reviewed the security footage in her private office upstairs, she watched the whole scene again. Ethan's calm voice, his straight posture, the way he didn't hesitate. She replayed it 3 times and made a decision. They started talking more. He told her about his mom, a former hotel cleaner who raised him alone. She used to say, he smiled, leaning against the service corridor wall, "Respect people when nobody's watching. That's when it counts." "She sounds amazing." "She was," Ethan replied quietly. "Passed away 2 years ago, lung cancer. But yeah, she was the best." Zara went home that night in her driver's car and cried in the back seat, because no one had spoken to her like a human being in years. Not on conferences, not at galas, not even at family dinners. Everyone wanted something. Everyone performed. But Ethan, he just was. And that terrified her, because she was starting to feel something she hadn't for many years. Something real. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. But secrets don't stay hidden forever. One afternoon, a powerful investor toured the hotel, a man named Richard Caldwell, known for hostile takeovers and zero patience. He saw Zara mopping near the fountain courtyard. "People like her shouldn't even be near 5-star spaces," he said loudly to the operations director. "It lowers the standard." Ethan heard it. He was fixing a light fixture 10 feet away. He climbed down. "Sir," he said calmly, "people like her are the reason 5-star places stay 5-star. Caldwell turned, eyebrows raised. "Excuse me? She works harder than most of the people you smiled at today. Maybe we should judge standards by effort, not appearance." The investor's face darkened. "What's your name?" "Ethan Wells." "Well, Ethan Wells, I'll make sure you are unemployed by tomorrow." Ethan shrugged. "Then fire me." The director pulled Ethan aside immediately, hissing warnings. Caldwell walked off, furious. And from the security office, Zara watched everything. Her hands trembled on the edge of the desk. Nobody had ever defended her like that, not knowing she was worth billions, not knowing she could end Caldwell's career with a single phone call. But Ethan didn't know, and he still stood up. That night, she couldn't sleep. She kept replaying his words, his face, the quiet defiance, and she realized something that made her chest ache. She was in love with him, not because he was perfect, but because he was real, and she had no idea what to do about it. 2 days later, all staff were called to the grand ballroom for what was announced as an important company meeting. Ethan stood at the back, expecting termination. He'd already started updating his resume. Around him, staff whispered. Some glanced at him with pity, others with admiration. The lights dimmed. A video played on the massive screen. Business awards, interviews, headlines. Zara Cole, African tech billionaire, expands into luxury hospitality. Clips of her shaking hands with world leaders, speaking at the United Nations, signing contracts. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Confusion. Shock. Then she walked in. Not Lena, but Zara. Elegant black dress, hair styled, confidence, presence. The entire energy of the room shifted. People stood. Whispers turned to gasps. Ethan's heart dropped into his stomach. The room went silent. If you're still watching at this point, drop a comment with, "I'm still here." Let's see who's truly following this shocking story. She took the mic, her voice calm, clear, and strong. "Good evening, everyone. My name is Zara Cole. I'm the owner of the Atlantic Crest." Applause started, uncertain, scattered. She raised a hand gently. "I came here 6 weeks ago in disguise to learn who people really are when they think no one important is watching. I wore a uniform, I cleaned rooms, I scrubbed floors, I ate in the staff cafeteria, and I listened." The room was so quiet you could hear the air conditioning hum.
Most people ignored me, some disrespected me, a few were cruel. But that taught me something invaluable about the culture we're building here. She scanned the crowd slowly, then her eyes found Ethan. One man showed kindness when he had nothing to gain. One man stood up for me when it could have cost him his job. One man treated a cleaner with the same respect he'd give anyone else. Tears filled his eyes. He tried to blink them away. She walked down the stage steps, microphone still in hand. Ethan Wells, you didn't protect a cleaner. You protected the woman who owns this entire building. Gasps, applause, shock rippled through the ballroom. She stopped a few feet from him. Would you still talk to me now that you know? The room held its breath. He wiped his eyes, smiled, nervous but steady. I liked you before the dress. The applause erupted. Some people cried, others cheered. But Ethan only saw her, and she only saw him. After the meeting, Zara made changes. The general manager who barked at staff was let go. Several policies were rewritten. Staff wages were increased. Respect became non-negotiable. And Caldwell? His investment deal was quietly canceled. Ethan was promoted to head of facility operations, but he turned it down. I like fixing things, he told her over coffee in her office. I'm good at it. I don't need a title. You're impossible, she laughed. I'm consistent, he corrected. They started seeing each other, quietly at first. Dinner at small restaurants, walks along the beach, conversations that lasted until sunrise. She told him about the loneliness of wealth. He told her about the weight of grief. They didn't fix each other, but they felt less broken together. Months later, Ethan opened his own electrical company, funded by an anonymous investor. He didn't know it was her until the paperwork came through. You didn't have to do this, he said. I wanted to, she replied. You gave me something money can't buy. Let me give you something it can. And on the rooftop of the Atlantic crest, under Lagos lights that looked like stars had fallen to earth, with the city humming below and the ocean breeze lifting her hair, he proposed. Not to a billionaire, to the girl who once pushed a cleaning cart beside him. I don't have a fortune, he said, kneeling with a simple ring. I don't have connections, but I have love, real love, the kind that sees you even when you're invisible to everyone else. Will you marry me? She pulled him to his feet, tears streaming. Yes, 1,000 times yes. And when they kissed, the staff who'd gathered on the lower balconies to watch cheered so loudly the sound carried across the water, because they'd all seen it. The cleaner who was never just a cleaner, the electrician who was never just an employee, two people who found each other in a world obsessed with surfaces and chose depth instead. If this story touched your heart, I want to ask you something. How do you treat people when you think they can't do anything for you? Would you have noticed Ethan? Would you have defended Lena? Or would you have walked past like so many others did? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you believe kindness still matters in a world that often forgets it, hit that subscribe button and share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Because sometimes the richest person in the room is the one who knows how to love when there's nothing to gain. And that's a wealth no amount of money can ever buy.